Can coffee creamers wreak havoc on your health? Find out on this next episode of Digest This.
Welcome to Digest This, the show that helps you revolutionize your digestive health. Here are your hosts, Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato.
Hello and welcome to Digest This. I'm Dr. Liz Cruz and I have Tina Nunziato sitting right here by my side. We are so happy that you have decided to join us for today's episode. If you are a regular listener, we love you and we're so appreciative that you take the time on a weekly basis to hang out with us for 15-20 minutes. And if you are a new listener, welcome. And we hope that you will check out our library of podcasts. We have over 300 of them.
I would also like to make a shout out to Carol out there, who I know is listening. She told me this week she listens to every podcast and It brightens her day. So just want to say hi to Carol.
Hi, Carol. It's awesome. So what about coffee creamers? Tina asked me, why do you want to do that topic?
Well, it's funny because whenever we're like out and about doing something and we have a podcast idea, we text it to each other.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden one day you texted me coffee creamers. And I'm like, what do we, okay.
Do you want me to buy you coffee creamers?
I was like, what is this? She's like, no, podcast idea. So I was like, okay. So yeah, so why?
So
do you want to talk
I don't
about
remember
coffee creamers?
exactly why I text you that, because it's been a few weeks. I think that I may have seen containers of powdered coffee creamer like at the doctor's lounge at one of the centers where I go to. And it just reminded me of when I was in training for gastroenterology. When I was doing my training in San Francisco, I drank a ton of coffee, not to keep me awake, because I just love coffee. And I would just drink coffee, if we had a little break, let's go get some coffee. Mm-hmm. But they always had coffee there in the endoscopy suite. I remember there was a little room where they had like a coffee maker and they had a little table set up with containers and containers of powdered coffee creamer. And I remember one of the attendings that I worked with always saying, you shouldn't drink that stuff. That stuff can give you bladder cancer. Now, I never actually took the time to look it up to see if it could give you bladder cancer, but I think the point he was trying to drive home is
It's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy. I think that was the point.
Even back then, because, you're getting old. So how many years ago was that?
Yeah, that was like 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago.
Right around the time when they really started using chemicals in food.
Yeah. Oh, don't you think they've been using chemicals even before that?
Before that, but it was like big
right
at that point, right?
Yeah, so I just thought it would be interesting to talk about coffee creamers because, coffee is one of the most, it's one of the top beverages that is consumed in our country and probably around the world. Absolutely. Coffee, I would say coffee and tea, right? But let's talk about coffee because it's my favorite. And it's one of the most consumed beverages. And now it's not just regular coffee, black coffee or coffee with cream. Now you've got all these fancy coffees that are out there. And I'm going to say this. We're not, and maybe we've talked about coffee in the past and, pros and cons of coffee. We're not going to focus on that today, but I would venture to say that it's not so much the coffee, but it's what you put in the coffee.
It's all the extra stuff.
All the extra stuff you put in coffee that really change the chemical composition of coffee and how it affects you, the effect of it.
On your health.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because you've got all of these fancy coffees that are really loaded with a lot of different sweeteners, and the sweeteners have not only sugar but chemicals, flavoring. Flavoring is basically code for chemicals. And I'm sorry because I know there's probably a lot of you that are coffee drinkers and fancy coffee drinkers, and we're just saying it. I mean, we're not telling you stop drinking it. That's not what the point of this, but we want to make sure that you're aware.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people, like on Facebook, for example, there's a lot of people who are like working out every day, and they're like, why am I not, losing weight, and why do I still not feel good, and but then they are typically drinking a fancy coffee every day. Maybe they're having alcohol frequently, and then people wonder, why am I not losing weight? Why am I not feeling better? And it's because you're still consuming things that are not good for the body, right?
Exactly. And so let's, you've got the liquid creamers, you've got the powdered creamers. A lot of the liquid creamers have sweeteners in them, sugar, artificial sugars.
Most of them have artificial sugars, which are worse for you than regular sugar.
Absolutely. And then the flavorings. I mean, you've got all these different flavorings. I mean, Irish coffee, caramel, you name it. There's all vanilla, French vanilla. I mean, look, these
hazelnut. Is a big one.
Yeah, and they're flavorings that are put into the creamer, and
they're not really using hazelnut to flavor it. I think that's what people might not understand. Like, they're not using the actual food to flavor these things. They're using chemicals.
Absolutely, and so these are things that, I mean, and some people might say, well, they're in small quantities. Yes, but continuing to ingest these, consume these on a regular basis, eventually it catches up with you. Okay. I mean, for me, the big thing for me when I stopped drinking coffee, and yes, from time to time, I still do drink some coffee. My love for coffee has not died. Not at all. It is still there.
It will never die.
It will never die. But I actually think it's within my DNA. Really, I really think it's in my DNA. But anyways, what was happening to me was that I was drinking it regularly, and mainly in the morning. It's not like I was drinking coffee all day long. It was mainly in the morning, and I was starting to get aches in my neck. Now, I wasn't sure, like, is it because of my position when I'm standing up doing procedures all day? Is there something I'm doing with my neck that I'm not even aware of? But I tried to pay attention to that, and I don't think it was that. And ultimately, my wife said, you should probably stop drinking coffee and let's just see what happens. I mean, maybe it's just catching up with you. And I did put a lot of creamer in it. Not flavored creamers.
No, but you were using even like alternative creamers. So like, because we stopped drinking dairy a long time ago.
Right.
So you stopped the dairy creamer and you were doing like the coconut creamer.
Yeah, like coconut creamer without sweeteners.
Right, the healthier creamer without sweeteners.
Yes.
But then I told her that every time she'd leave her cup in the sink and she'd leave for work and I'd come down, there was all this congealed,
like sediment,
gross stuff at the bottom of this cup. And I'm like, that's the stuff that's going in her body, right? And I'm like, that can't be good.
Yeah,
so
that made me very sad.
I really had to dare her though to give up the coffee.
She did.
That was a tough one.
It was tough, So I did. I gave it up. And gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it. James.
Gosh darn it. Those aches went away. Okay. And I will tell you that I have experimented by going back on coffee again and drinking it daily for several months at a time. And sure enough, I start to get those aches. And the other thing is that if I don't get the coffee and skip one day, get a horrible headache. So I'm convinced that, unfortunately and sadly for me, the coffee was causing me some aches, and again, that was using unsweetened, like coconut,
healthy alternative.
What were the ones I was getting? Coconut creamers. I was mainly getting like coconut creamers, and I wasn't getting the flavored ones. Okay, so
so imagine like what those could do to you. Actually, we've been places and you've tried those in your coffee, and you can even taste the chemicals when you're not used to doing them every day. And you try them, you're like, I can't even drink this. I can literally taste the chemicals.
Cannot. I mean, we even went to my sister's a couple weekends ago, and she has flavored oatmeal creamer. So oat milk. I was like, oh, this is a little healthier. I'm gonna, my nephew has a little coffee station with his Keurig and all the different coffees, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And I didn't realize that I think it said French vanilla or Irish something. And the minute I tasted it, I could taste like it was the sweeteners. And I don't do any artificial sugars. No artificial sugars. If I'm going to have sugar, I run, raw sugar, the real stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I can't drink this. So I actually ended up throwing out that coffee, and then I got another coffee, and she had some just regular half and half, and I did the half and half. And again, I'm not drinking coffee regularly, but every once in a while, But look, I have to read this to you because I found this about the powdered creamers. And it was talking about, the fact that, putting the calories aside, powdered creamers have been known to contain some questionable ingredients, okay? Like the additive sodium aluminosilicate. Now that doesn't sound good just reading it. It's aluminosilicate, sodium. And it goes on to describe that this is actually an additive that's commonly used in everything from food to laundry detergent. Okay, laundry detergent as an anti-caking agent. It's also been known to irritate the eyes and the skin. It can cause respiratory irritation, according to the National Center for Biotechnology information. What's more, these creamers can also contain hydrogenated vegetable oil, whose saturated fat content can raise your risk of heart disease. So anyways, next time you're thinking of putting powdered creamer in your coffee, think twice about reaching for that non-dairy creamer. And, and think twice about these flavored liquid creamers, all right? Flavored, sweetened. I mean, look, just have a cup of black coffee or a cup of, really, I've pretty much resorted myself now to just having a cup of coffee with organic half and half. I really have. I've actually come full circle to just going back to that. Get organic half and half where it's not made, they don't use antibiotics or, hormones in those cows, and just have a little bit of that. Unsweetened. Every once in a while. Yeah. Every once in a while.
Special treat.
That's right. Special treat. So anyways, I thought this was a really interesting topic, and we probably could talk more about it, but we're going to bring it to a close. And I just want to say, if you want to connect with us, we'd love for you to connect with us. Go to our website, drlizcruz.com, and there is a purple magenta colored, it's more pinkish magenta button, not purple. I don't know where I got purple, but it's a pink magenta button that you can click and schedule a free wellness consult, okay? It's free. You heard me right. Free 30-minute wellness consult, and that's our gift to you. And if you haven't rated us, please rate us and give us a 5 because it'll help other people like you to find us easier. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe so that you don't ever miss an episode. All right? So on that note, we're going to close this up, and we will catch you on the next podcast.
Thank you for joining Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato. To learn more about their revolutionary products and services, go online to www.drlizcruz.com.